The royal confession that should never have been heard. King Charles breaks the silence on a love that never was. For decades, the world has scrutinized every fragment of King Charles's love life, his unhappy marriage to Princess Diana, his unwavering commitment to Queen Camilla. But behind the public spectacle of royal duty, arranged marriages, and whispered scandals, the question remains: who was the true love of King Charles's life, now aged 76? The monarch has reportedly made a shocking confession that challenges long-held assumptions and rewrites the story of the love triangle that captivated the world, hidden behind years of stoic duty and controlled public appearances. Charles has finally revealed an emotional truth. A truth that suggests the love story we've been told was never the real story. What triggered this rare moment of vulnerability, and most importantly, who was the person Charles could never truly break away from? Let's dive together into love, regrets, and unspoken truths that continue to shape the British monarchy. A marriage based on expectations, not love, the illusion of Charles and Diana to fully understand the weight of Charles's confession. We must go back to the origins, to the moment when the whole world was seduced by the fairy tale of Prince Charles and Diana Spencer. In 1977, Charles meets Diana for the first time, but not in the way romanticized history loves without memory. Diana, then aged only 16, was just a polite acquaintance. A teenager whose older sister, Sarah Spencer, was in reality the one Charles was seeing at the time. The future king showed no real interest in Diana, but in 1980, the narrative changes. The royal family and the British press sees Diana as much more than a simple pretender. She embodies the perfect candidate to become aristocratic queen, graceful, scandal-free, and adored by the public. Diana ticks all the royal boxes, the diligent court bray, but ultra-publicized, overflowing with affection, theatrical, a hand strategically placed on her back during a polo match. Polite smiles, carefully orchestrated photo shoots. All this was enough to convince the world that the couple were madly in love. But behind the scenes, Charles struggled. Diana was deeply in love with Charles's idea. But Charles was in love with another. When Prince Charles and Princess Diana announced their engagement in 1981, the cracks in their fairy tale image were already apparent. When asked if they were in love, Diana immediately answered yes, while Charles hesitated, infamously responding, "Whatever in love means." Was this merely a slip of the tongue or an unfiltered truth that slipped out? In hindsight, Charles's later admissions force us to see that moment for what it truly was, a forewarning of a marriage destined for heartache. The one person who never left his heart was Camilla, his true love. Long before Diana, there was Camilla. Their connection began in the early 1970s, rooted in shared passions, a similar sense of humor, and an innate understanding of British aristocratic life. But fate was not on their side. When Charles left for naval service in 1971, Camilla married Andrew Parker Bowles. By the time Charles returned, the woman he truly loved was already someone else's wife. The public was led to believe that once Diana entered Charles's life, Camilla faded into the background. In reality, she never did. By 1986, while Charles was still married to Diana, their affair resumed. Diana knew it, the world suspected it, and eventually, everything unraveled. In her explosive 1995 Panorama interview, she famously declared, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." Her words sent shockwaves through the monarchy, yet the opposite was true. The beginning of Charles and Diana's love story is also as bizarre as their marriage. Years before they became a couple, Charles had briefly dated Diana's older sister, Sarah. When their paths crossed again in 1980, Charles and Diana dated for just 6 months before getting engaged. Surprisingly, they only met 13 times in person before Charles decided to propose. Diana happily accepted his proposal despite their age difference. As a symbol of his commitment, Charles gave Diana a gorgeous engagement ring, her famous sapphire ring with 18-karat white gold setting and 14 solitaire diamonds. On the morning of August 31st, 1997, Charles received the news that would change everything. Diana was gone. Though their marriage had ended, their bond through their children remained unbreakable.